You are listening to The Michael Lodge Show. Wealth, business, and taxes. Oh yeah, and some politics. Let's get started.
Okay, let's get started. I'm ready. Hopefully you guys are ready. I have my cup of coffee. I'm very happy to have my cup of coffee. I tell you, it's 42 degrees here in South Carolina, up here in the Greenville area. I like it. I like this nice cold weather. Because one thing, as I'm sitting here looking out of my office and studio, I'm looking out into the woods. I see sun starting to pop its head through the woods and through the leaves and everything coming through the woods. And I know it's going to warm up. It's supposed to be up to 70 today. So, listen, cold is a good thing because you get to have this piping hot cup of coffee, and it really does taste good. And it feels good. And it makes you feel all nice and cozy and warm inside, and you're ready to face the day. Talking about facing the day, you know what month this is, and we just have a few more days left in it of October. And then we'll have November and December. And then we have a brand new year. Can you believe it? We're almost at the end of 2021 and going into 2022. And we have some stuff to do. We have some planning to do. If you are a business, or even if you're a family, because this is going to apply to both. Because now, the way that you run your family has got to be like a business also, where you're making smart money management decisions. But specifically this morning, I'm talking about businesses, small businesses. We're coming to the end of the year, and this is the time that we need to sit down with your notepads, Excel spreadsheets, or journals. I like to do my planning in a journal, but we need to start planning for 2022. I hope that you have sat down with your accountants and said, okay, where do we stand for 2021? What is our income? What is our expenses? And what's the net? Are there going to be any tax complications? So you really need to start sitting down now and saying, okay, this is where I am for 2021. Is there anything I need to do for the remainder of 2021 that I can take advantage of the tax code to my benefit? And what do I need to do for 2022? What have I sat down and planned out? Well, really what my goals and expectations are for 2022. What is the revenue that I need to bring in? What are the expenses that I need to look at, adjust, modify, delete? And what is my net income going to be? And are there any risk areas to your business that you need to maybe plan an accrual for legal fees, consultants, that may hit you in 2022? Do you take the hit in 2021 and balance sheet the rest of it for 2022? Those are the questions that you need to be asking yourself. What are my risks for 2022? Is anything going to pop up in 2021 that will hit me in 2022 that I need to be prepared for? So you need to start sitting down, look at your revenues. What are your revenue expectations? Are they reasonable? And what are your expenses? Am I going to have to lay some people off? Am I going to have to adjust for this inflationary time that we're going through? Because listen, inflation is going to get worse. So you have to plan for that. Even in your personal lives, you've got to plan for inflation. Because everything's going up, and it's going to go up for the next year. Don't believe what the feds are telling you, because they're just giving you a bunch of nonsense. They just barely... 6 months ago, I started talking to you guys about inflation and how it's going to hit. Now, the feds knew. They could see it. They could see things happening. They could see the writing on the wall. But the problem is they refused to look at the wall, and they wanted to give you a rosy picture. And then those of you who were looking at Wall Street, you were looking in the wrong direction. Listen, Wall Street economy and mainstream economy, totally different. They are totally way off from each other. One is working on risk and speculation and investment. Our economy that we have to live within is looking at, okay, how much money's coming in? How much can I spend? And am I saving anything? Am I responsible with my taxes and got them filed correctly? So we have questions and responses to the economy that is far different than Wall Street. Wall Street is dealing in billions, and we're dealing in hundreds and thousands of us, most of us. So we have got to do some planning. If you have a small business or if you have a business of any kind, you had better start sitting down with your teams or yourself if you're the only team member, but sit down and start listing everything that you want to accomplish for 2022, what the revenue implications are going to be and what the expenses are going to hit you. And is there anything that you can do to minimize any type of risk? If you can do that, then you're on your way to being prepared for 2022. Now, after I've said all that, then comes the communication part, because you have got to tell your employees right now what is going to be expected of them for 2022. They have got to be on the same team, playing the same game with the same numbers. And their responsibility is to improve those numbers. So if they don't know what the game plan is, how do you expect them to turn around and do better than what you expected? Everybody has got to be told. Everybody has got to understand the importance of this inflationary time and living within it and how to address it in 2022. Now, I'm talking specifically to businesses, but this goes right along with your personal lives. Sit down and start doing your budgets for 2022. What is your income? What are your expenses? And what can you cut or increase that's going to help you? Remember, we all have responsibilities. We have these nagging responsibilities that face us every single day, because now we're going into a brand new year and we had better be prepared for it. And listen, if you guys need help with your budgeting, let me know. I'll sit down and work with you. Listen, my fee for sitting down and working with people on this is only $65 per hour. That's cheap. And we can do this in very short time. If you need help, let me know. Just send me an email at info@lodge-co.com. Again, that's info@lodge-co.com. But if you own a business, start sitting down and let's talk about it. Let's talk about what you can do for 2022. 2021 was a mess because of all these lockdowns and COVID stuff. I'm looking outside at the moment and I can see a beautiful gray squirrel with a white front eating away at these pine cones that are coming down off the tree. And he's a happy camper. So he's planning for the winter. He's planning for 2022. So you guys have got to be like little squirrels and start packing your cheeks and start planning. It's an important mission that we all have to live within. I have to do it too. In fact, I can't do it today because I'm finishing up a 25-hour continuing education class in taxation that I have to complete by October 31st. So I've got to get it done today. I only have one more section left. I've done all the other four. I just have one more left to do, and then I'll be done. I want you to know something. I do this every single year. I take 25 hours of CPE credit in taxation. This year, I tell you, I was kind of mystified because there's so many different things that we have never discussed before that's now coming up in the new tax rules that is happening. We have taken the tax tax code, and we have confused it so badly that I'm not quite sure. When you sign on that bottom line that says under perjury, I sign this, I don't know if you know what you're signing, because there are so many implications to that tax forms now and what you have to look at, especially in California, where you now have marijuana taxation that you have to be concerned about. My gosh, we went on page after page after page, and also on marijuana taxation, and then also on the CARES Act. It went on and on and on pages of what you could do, what you can do, being vaccinated, being unvaccinated, doing testing and untesting. It all has to do with the tax code now. So we have taken a tax code and we have confused it, we've twisted it, and we've manipulated it. And the majority of it, well, all of it really, basically, has been destroyed by politicians. That's another thing that we have to begin planning for 2022, the 2021 tax return. Now, I want to say one more thing. Now, I'm done with the budgeting part, okay? So that is your responsibility. If you want me to work with you, I'll be more than happy to. Again, that's info@lodge-co.com. $65 an hour to help you with your budgeting. I'll be more than happy to do with it. I'll be more than happy to do it with you. The other issue that I want to talk about is tax preparers, okay? Now, tax preparers have ethics that we have to live by. And we are monitored not just by the Internal Revenue Service or by the state that we're preparing taxes within, but we also have we have rules and regulations that we have to live within the Federal Trade Commission, FTC. And it's right up there with banks, because if you look at us, we have all of your personal information ever on our computers. All of your data, your names and social security numbers, when we prepare your tax returns, it's there. We're collecting it. We're storing it. So the FTC and the IRS together have created data protection, for client data protection measures that we have to live within. Now, if you are going to a tax practitioner, and if you ask them the question, what are your client data protection for my tax information that I'm giving you? And if they hem and haw around, that means they don't have one. It should be published on their website of how they are protecting you. If it's not on their website, then question it. Are they in compliance with the the Federal Trade Commission and the Internal Revenue Service when it comes to client data protection? So ask that question. That's important because there's so much fraud going on today. Even on my own computer, I have so much fraudulent phishing stuff, scammers that are trying to get to me, that I now have to double force my security on my computers because I am dealing with information, data. And I want my data saved, and I want it protected. And I want your data saved and protected also at your accounting offices. And by the way, if you're an accountant out there, make sure that you're in compliance. Because I tell you, the penalties are steep. If they should come in and inspect you and they see that you are not in compliance, it's steep. It's very, very steep. So check with your state, check with the Internal Revenue Service on client data protection, and also with the Federal Trade Commission. We are at the same level. Tax practitioners and accountants are at the same level as banks. Look at banks. Banks have all of your information also. All of that is confidential. All of it should be protected. So we're at the same level as banks and financial institutions. Ask the question of your tax practitioner, what are your client data protection programs that are protecting my data? That's an important question. Don't be afraid to ask it. So we have talked about planning, we have talked about taxation, and we've talked about tax preparers. If you have any questions on this morning's podcast, send it to me at info at lodge, lodge-co.com. I'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions that you may have. If you like my podcast and the content of my podcast, go to www.buymeacoffee.com/Michael Lodge. Again, that's www.buymeacoffee.com/Michael Lodge. And all of my blogs and vlogs and podcasts are all there so you can see them. Join today and you'll get a lot more information. Because I talk about a whole bunch of different things. I talk about leadership. I talk about partnership issues. I talk about conflict. I talk about mediation. I talk about taxation. I talk about business. I talk about a whole bunch of different things that I feel is important to me and should be important to you when we're running our businesses and we're running our daily lives. So that's it for today. Hopefully you have had a great day. Hopefully you like my content. Support me today. I greatly appreciate it. Everybody go out and have a great Wednesday and enjoy life and be good. Talk with you soon. Bye-bye.